Hey guys, Professor Bill of Comic Book University and the Immortal Hulk, issue number 1. Al Ewing has been doing a lot. He's been going crazy on Twitter with all the stuff that he's been doing, giving us a little hints, wanting us to like this. So do I? Well, the comic book starts off with a very basic gas station robbery scene that goes completely wrong. It kind of feels a little bit like a Quentin Tarantino movie where it's like, dude, is there really that much blood? You don't usually see this much blood in a comic book, but this is a very graphic comic book. Dude, I'm just saying. You know why Frankenstein's monster was considered scary way back in the day? What was that, in the 30s that movie came out with Boris Karloff, the original one? People today be like, that wasn't scary. What is this, boring? This is stupid. But back in the day, people will tell you, like, no, that was a terrifying comic book. Terrifying movie. One of the many reasons is because the little girl was killed. They actually had to take that out of the original film because it horrified people so much. It's like, this was a little girl. She was what, maybe 12 years old, something like that, maybe younger, 8 years old, 6 years old. What was she? She was young, and she was killed. And it's like, that was too much for people. Boris Karloff, if you ever see the original poster for the Frankenstein movie, Boris Karloff's name isn't in there. It says, who plays the monster? And there's a big question mark. Why? Karloff thought it was going to ruin his career. Bela Lugosi turned it down. Half because he thought it was childish. That's what it says in that Ed Wood movie. But in reality, he thought, this is cutting it really close. This is a lot scarier than Dracula. This is a terrifying movie, you know? So, the little girl gets killed in this, man. It's messed up. So, anyway, Bruce Banner dies in this. And then he comes back. So we're going to go to a biker gang bar. Now look, back in the day, the original Hulk stories, it got a little bit boring because it's always the Hulk versus the Army, and of course the Army was never going to win. General Thunderbolt Ross had no chance, right? So now Hulk against the biker gang, what chance is there? This is done a little bit differently. I also want to remind you that first Hulk run was canceled, so there's that. It only went to 6 issues. And then the Incredible Hulk comic book, our beloved Incredible Hulk, was canceled because people were just like, it's this big gigantic monster versus this army, and the army doesn't stand a chance. Who cares? You know? Well, here, he's going against a biker gang. This is a very different kind of Hulk. Now, I know that Al Ewing kept on saying, no, this is a different kind of Hulk. This isn't the Hulk like you've ever seen it before. This is a horror Hulk. This is like a horror movie. Yeah, I think he made a serious understatement or 12, because, wow. There are some... look, this isn't going to be one of those kind of comic books that makes me... Like, I'm almost 43 years old, and I'm not sitting here looking at this going, oh my God, I'm terrified. But there were scenes in here that reminded me of my youth, all right? Reading Chiller magazine. Reading EC Comics. That's Eerie Comics. Why would they name it EC Comics? I don't know. Ask DC why they name it DC Comics. So, like this had a lot of moments in here that made me think of that. Like, there's scenes in here where it's like, dude, the Hulk, man, he's literally coming out of nowhere. He's like a ghost in some regards. This reminds me more of Joe Fixit Hulk than any other version of Hulk besides Joe Fixit that I've seen. But this is the scary Joe Fixit. The Joe Fixit where you're like, dude, a big green Hulk smashing things I can run away from. But a not as big gray thing coming right at me directly, that's a little bit scary. Here's the big gigantic green thing coming directly after you. And he talks to you. And it's terrifying. Like, this literally reminded me of some of those Tales from the Dark Side and Crypt Keeper Creepshow type comic books from way back in the day. This is a menacing comic book. The detective, I love the name of the detective, McGee. That's perfect. It's all good. I'm going to show you the last page simply because for me, I read it, I was like, well, obviously they're going to do this. This wasn't a surprise, but I just want you to get the feeling of what you're actually dealing with here. This is First, like, there's just so much to look at. Here's the names of the people here. Al Ewing, writing. Joe Bennett, right? Yeah, Joe Bennett, penciling. Roy Jose, inker. Paul Mounts, colors. VC's Corey Petit, letterer. Alex Ross doing that cover. Oh, man, that cover. It's gorgeous. I got the regular cover, of course. Wow. Everybody did a bang-up job in this. Who did this? That's my question. Who did, or is he both? Because that happens in here. That's brought up a few times. But this looks like the old, Tales from the Dark Side style lettering from way, way, way back in the day. From when, back in the day when superhero comics weren't the thing. This was before Superman came along. It's like superhero comics. I don't want to see superheroes. You know what I'm saying? I want to see these monsters. There's some detective and some crime novels. There's, comic books. There's some lovey-dovey romance, teen romance comic books. There's the Archie-type comic books, the little comedies. There's the Looney Tunes stuff and the Mickey Mouse, more specifically. And you got Westerns, right? But you also had that one genre that just made the parents say, this is too much. The ghost stories, the horror stories, the monster stories, where there's teeth gnashing in the night, and all you see is the teeth, but you hear them first. This has that feeling. When I'm reading this, I'm sitting here, like, for some reason, just Alfred Hitchcock comes into my mind, and the idea that he used chocolate syrup in the black and white movie Psycho to show blood going down the drain. Why? Because it was black and white. You couldn't use red. The chocolate is what actually made sense. And you didn't see the murder. You didn't see that shower scene murder. There was the innuendo of it. There was the threat of it. It left it to your imagination. Today, look, we like, thank you, Jason. Jason Voorhees, the Friday the 13th movies, for all the crazy psycho, stalker, Sleepy Hollow camp stuff, people coming at you, the hacker slasher movies, the Insidious movies. I never actually watched Insidious, but like the Saw movies, the Hostile movies, where you actually see the gore, you see the violence. Back in the day, like, I grew up with Alien, where you didn't see that alien until the very end. Terminator, where it's just a guy. He's a big guy, but he's just a regular guy. Okay, there's a robot eye in there. What's going on? And then at the very end, like, oh, wow, when the fire burns off the skin, the epidermis, and you see that endoskeleton. Dude, there was some, and just that monster that's coming straight for you. It's not stopping. How is Dracula scary back in the day? Because you know what's under that cape. And you know that as he's coming towards you, what's that one fear that all, not just humans, all sentient life forms with eyes, so cats, dogs, all animals, insects, every single living creature, what's that one instinctual fear we all have? It's of someone closing the gap between it and you. And it's not stopping. It's terrifyingly continuing to move towards you. And that's the feeling I get when I'm reading this comic book. The worst part about reading this comic book was that I read it first before all the other comic books that I got, this fat stack of comic books that I got this week. And that bothers me because I don't know if those comic books have a chance now. This was a really good comic, and I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I hope that I didn't bring your expectations up too high. Seriously, I would hate to have done that. But this was a really good comic book. And I can't wait to see, like, honestly, if my comic book store was still open, I'd call them up, be like, dude, I'm going to need you to put this in my pull box. So I'll just simply do that tomorrow. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.